Так, супер.
А ты там в прошлый раз что-то включил, 2 аккаунта, эхо было, и тебя второй аккаунт звук заблокировал, и стало все нормально. Ну, это я так, на всякий случай.
Да, я пробовал с компа подключаться, наотрез отказывался подключаться, и я начал с телефона, и потом подключился в фоне, я не заметил.
Да, ну,
Сейчас
нормально,
это,
нормально, я почекну. Так,
да, супер. Сейчас я сразу с телефона буду.
сейчас я посмотрю, что он там что-то ответил, нет. Так, это Реквел уже запрос отправил, но жду ответа. Сейчас. Пум-пум-пум-пум-пум-пум-пум. Генри. Киссинджер, что ли?
Форд.
Так, ну я ему отправил. И напоминалку отправлял. Сейчас, если кто на почту напишу.
Как в YouTube выложишь, пришли, пожалуйста, ссылку на запись с Ракел.
А я в YouTube выложу, тебе скину ссылку.
Мгм.
Не пойму, как ссылку в Zoom-то найти. О, не в Zoom, а в этом, где мы сейчас говорим. Не могу найти. Раньше как-то легко было.
Сейчас кину.
Да вот я, ага, с этого взял уже.
Шел, да?
Ага. Так. На mail ему отправил, сейчас сюда закину.
А он типа идет, ну, типа ссылку спрашивал? Или
Не, ничего не спрашивал, просто снова его напоминалку ему кидаю. Прикольно, вот этот Get Sales, он даже показывает процент ответа в e-mail. То есть сразу видно, он отвечает на e-mail, либо нет. В основном у всех 90, около 90% отвечаемость на e-mail, ну, то есть большая.
ты как-нибудь хотел спросить тебя, ну, типа, как ты все это делаешь, что завод, что из себя представляет. Я понял, что мне надо строить, потому что я по 10 отправляю, результат нулевой.
А там ничего не
Мне
надо
надо...
строить, там надо просто базу загрузить отдельную и на нее отдельный скрипт. Там ничего строить, ну как, ну отдельный скрипт, да, надо, и загрузить базу. Там, в принципе, все настроено. Вот.
Почему он отдельный? есть это то же самое, почему он отдельно, этот скрипт?
Если этот же подойдет, то нормально. Там смотри, какая база. Ну, скорее всего, этот же подойдет, да. Да, слушай, мне
Окей,
дашь контакты, я все сделаю. Ну, как бы нормально. Мне все закинешь, я все сделаю. Это
окей.
бесполезно писать, ты знаешь, я понял, они почему очень инвайты плохо подтверждают, прям очень плохо. Я там 50 инвайтов кидаю, они там 2 принимают. Это крейзи вообще, крейзи. Первый раз такое вижу. Я подумаю, что там с инвайтами сделать. Ну, то есть, если мы из-за сообщения в ответ получили отклик,
Hello, Alex. Hello, Dimitri.
hello,
Hey,
again.
Henry, how are you?
All good. All good.
Great,
Sorry,
great.
guys. I'm kind of I was running on another meeting, but I hope you understand. We can like I have no other meetings after, so we can push it forward if that suits your schedule.
Great, great. No worries. So let's get started, maybe.
Yeah.
So let me just like briefly tell a few words who we are and what we need today. So we're together with Mitri, founders of Get Flash, which is a startup aiming to certainly to disrupt the way B2B pays. I mean B2B clients pay each other. So we are trying to build customer-like experience at checkout. We are at super early stage of our startup. I mean we have nothing to show to offer. We are on discovery stage, trying to investigate and discover what the problem is. Either a problem space we're trying to disrupt actually to build the products customer will need. And with this purpose, we're outreaching people who are working for either suppliers, manufacturers, B2B marketplaces, software marketplaces. So anybody who actually in between two businesses, or actually is a business trying to distribute the product in e-commerce. So we saw that you are in Droppy right now, and that's super like target segment for us. I mean, you are certainly the person who probably knows like a lot of information we need. So let us ask a few questions for the next like 15-20 minutes, right?
Sure. That's good.
We checked your LinkedIn profile. I mean, it's impressive your experience in digital and B2B commerce. Could you please tell a few words on what exactly your responsibilities are in Droppy, and I mean, what's your day-to-day routine in this company?
Sure. So obviously, maybe I should update you a bit more. So I'm not daily part of the operations anymore at Droppe. So at this stage, but when it comes to my background, I've built 3 marketplaces as of now. Now building a 4th. Some tracker. I'm advising around 10 e-commerce companies and probably 10 more in different various fields for everything from industry to crypto. I do angel investing on the side, so maybe like that gives you a little bit like it's all around. I try to see what you guys like. What it's all about for me is understanding what you guys do and what's your competitive edge, and if there's a market for it, and like if it's something that I can utilize my contacts with, or if it's something that I could personally benefit as well, maybe then there's a match. So I think I'm gladly tell you more about the day-to-day, but it was basically running the operations, and operations in a company is everything, like from the sales to admin to the supply network and everything. So I was running the whole show. So it's very hard to tell you exactly what it was because it was everything.
But that's even much better. So let me put the questions in like more like broad way and more maybe strategic way, since you are like has 360 vision in this industry. So let me divide the conversation in 2 parts. The first one, let me ask just a few questions to recognize the problem space, not to so that your answers are not biased by my presentation. And at the second part, actually, we'll present what we are doing specifically and some specific details. So,
let maybe not discuss specifically Dropper, but in general B2B marketplaces. No, I mean the question should be more specific. Let's discuss maybe Drop and some other examples. In this specific marketplace, the customers are both SMEs or like big corporations. Who they are? Just super brief.
Sure. So that includes both. Obviously, SMEs are more prone to buy online. With enterprises, the sales cycle from them to start buying through your portal might take up to 6 months. So we are like at Droppe. The goal was to onboard them to use us on the online basis, so we wouldn't have to take orders by phone or by email, by the platform. But SMEs are much more prone to order right away, especially if you have some good offering on your marketplace or store.
Either a payment method divided by those two segments, or they mixed. I mean, maybe smaller ones pay by one. I mean, what kind of payment method they actually use? I mean, on the checkout.
So basically, especially with Droppe, like that's maybe my throwback back to you. Like marketplaces, especially in the industry, might be harder for you guys as go-to-market strategy, because there the orders have to be verified first before they can be accepted. So you, especially when you're ordering goods that you don't hold the stock of, or you're ordering them from abroad, and especially if there are multiple stakeholders, you have to make sure that they can actually deliver those products before you confirm the order and charge the money. So with Droppe, that was always through invoicing mostly. Sometimes, yes, they paid by like some options, but that was like 1-2% of all the orders. So most paid just by regular invoices.
And how long would it take for the invoice to be paid, to be actually closed?
We offer different options, dividing like between 14 and 60 days, somewhere up to 90 or 120.
Wow. So that's is it that standard terms for such kind of?
Yeah, within the industry, you have to play by the terms of the buyer, the larger the buyer is. So if it's an SME, you can dictate the terms. If it's a corporation, and they require you to provide 90 days, 120 days. And then you have to comply with that.
How actually suppliers deal with that? I mean, it should affect their cash flow, even especially when the ticket is like high. So how they manage their cash flow, and is there any problems faced with this?
Sure. So that is always case by case basis and negotiated. Sometimes it's like 30% prepayment, and sometimes like if it's like 500,000 prepayment, like 30% of it. Sometimes it might be that only the first order is fully prepaid, and then they just deal with the payment times if they are delayed. Like it differs very much, and that's the like difficulty of that space, because everybody works a bit different way.
I see. And could you please like give a bit more details on the workflow of negotiation, of this term negotiation? Let's say I'm the like big customer. I have an order with like $50K dollars. I don't know, like big, like average big ticket, and I want to negotiate some discount and ship payment terms. So what do I do?
It differs from country to country. So for example, in Germany, if you pay the invoice in full, they expect 2% discount, if just for the paying the invoice. So you have to calculate that in. And for other countries, it might be very much different. And it differs from, like, with marketplaces, you have two sides with the, like, obviously, if it's 50,000 for us, it might be 30,000 to the original seller after our margin. So basically, with those, we have, in order for them to be listed Droppe, they have to be negotiated like in beforehand. So we already know the terms of the payment. And with the buyers, like that depends whether they come through a sales guy, referee, agent, or through the web shop. All of those might have different terms.
I see. And well, you mentioned that it might be like some discount for instant payment, right? That's
not even instant. Like even if it was 60 days, it's still expected
I
discount.
see. So the shorter the term is, uh, the more discount could be. But is that something like Germany specific, or maybe something in other market? You also like see
Yes,
that?
German-speaking countries quite often have that type of, and some partners expect a yearly rebate from 1 to 5% on all the volume they do. There's so many nuances.
I see. Uh, in this process, is any like financial institutions involved? Maybe like, I don't know, installment, whatever. Is it something which is on the table, on the discussion, or they don't negotiate this kind of?
It's certainly was something that we discussed at DropA. That was something that we wanted to include as offering like to the partners, so everything would be instant. We thought that that would provide value, but that would bring our margin down as well. So as of then, there was no margin to share regarding that part of the process. So because like maybe that's just drop specific because we had millions in the bank, so we could like allow these payment times for some, but for some other businesses who might be running short on cash, it might be more important.
Uh, did you maybe have a test to put this cost of money to the supplier, saying that, hey, let maybe,
with us,
sorry?
but there was no cost with us. So it was the same if you chose like 0 days or 60 days or 90 days. There was no difference
For the supplier, right? So they don't
and
really
for the
care.
buyer as well.
All right. So the 0 days and 60 days is like
Same.
similar for both parts.
Yep.
Wow. I mean, if the customer holds the money on their side for like 2 months, the supplier side, they don't really care. I mean, it's included to the
No,
like,
like the thing is that we have to like deal with two different terms. For example, supplier side, that might be 30 days, the buyer side 60 days. But we act as a bank in between for the time period because we had the money. But for some other business, that might not be the case, that they can do that.
But what do you do by doing that? I mean, you're like probably influence affect your some metrics, right? I mean, you increase your.
Not
But
really, no.
what's the point of spending like money and freezing your company's money, marketplace's money for this transaction,
Closing the deals.
closing the deals? So that's the point. You need to close more and more traction. I see. And if you offer like 0 days, saying that, all right, let's make it zero, but you, dear supplier, pay us, like make us discount. Would it work? I mean, maybe you tested this kind of stuff.
Yes, it would. Like for our like the problem is that if you work with large corporations, they don't really care if you pay instantly or in 30 days because like it's not going to affect their balance. But if it's for smaller businesses, then they care because it's significant portion of their revenue that they might have tied up for a month or two.
Let maybe put it a bit
Okay.
broader.
Okay.
Right.
Yes. In a broader sense, let's say one of our partners, they order stuff from China. It takes 2 months to come. They have their money tied up for 2 months. For them, that's a problem space because they can't order more stuff until they have sold the stuff on the marketplace. But like for Droppe, that is not a problem. But for the suppliers themselves, that is a problem that they need to manage.
And those guys should pay in advance to China, right?
Yes.
All right, that's
If
the
you
problem.
order abroad, you have to always pay in advance.
All right, so they freeze their money for 2 months, and that might be. And what the interest? I mean, what the average cost of money? How much is it in your market? So let's say if I hold like 10K or 100K for a month, would it cost me like 1 to 3% per month?
Something along the lines, yes.
All right, I see. That's huge. That could be huge. All right. In general, in general, would you say that in B2B payment and in B2B checkout payment, it's something which has problems, has something to deal with, or it's just commodity, a part of like standard flow? Nobody really cares about how it works. I mean, people
Or
do what they do, etc.
If it's within EU, not a problem. I wouldn't say that's a difficult market for you guys. If it's from outside of EU, so people in the EU are buying goods from outside of EU, then it has a significant value because they order in containers, sometimes tens of containers. We're talking about millions. So if you have millions tied up, that's a big sum of money for anybody. But if you hold somebody's 50K order for 2 months, that doesn't move like a needle.
I see. Dmitry, anything to specify?
Yeah, Genvi, can you share your thoughts about when you are attracting buyers on your platform? How do you due diligence them? Because you provide installment for 30 days, maybe more. Do you make any due diligence before you provide goods in installments?
Yes, typically you use the country register that you operate with. So for example, in Finland, you have their credit scores publicly and freely available, so you can check them at any given time. So yes, we do check those. In some other countries, they do that as well. Of all the European countries, I think we sell to 20, 30. Most of those provide those at maybe €1 per company check. If the order is more than 10,000, we might check. If it's less, then we take the risks. It's not about the money that would go in checking the thing, but it's the amount of money that goes into the work of checking the thing. So it doesn't make any sense to check it because and typically if people are ordering goods from you, especially industrial goods, nobody wants to order 500,000 worth of gloves or face masks if they don't do anything with those. They can't honestly sell those forward, or they don't do anything with those. So there's a pretty low margin or risk for betrayal.
Mm. Mhm, mhm. Mm.
But
How much people work in this process involved? I mean, I'm trying to understand: is it big process for you, or this is something which do each platform?
so at DropPay was 2 people doing this invoicing and order management, me and the other guy.
Okay, what is the average installment term? I mean, do you provide 30 days installment or maybe more? What's the average time frame which you are ready to provide?
I'd say 30 is fair.
30. Okay. How often are buyers to pass this period of time? How often do they pay after 30 days?
Maybe 1 out of 20, 5%.
5%. Is it problem for you, or is it something which we manage without any problem?
Yeah, sometimes it's a problematic if, let's say, it's 10,000 or more, and if, let's say, you've dealt with this company before, so they've ordered like 500,000 worth of goods from you before, and then you kind of think, okay, they have the money to pay for the next orders as well, and if those are delayed, like in terms of the money bank, cash flow, not a problem, but in terms of work of getting that money from them, then it's a problem.
What about default? How often is it happen when some clients have default and don't pay you anything?
Like anything.
Yeah. I mean, did you provide 30 days installments, and after some time, some clients can't to pay you due to
Okay.
bankrupt and mhm.
Okay. So with us, it was during the 4 years. It was once.
Okay, it's no problem. Okay, understand. Have you ever heard about Billy? It's our potential competitors who is provide installments and some different payment method for the B2B marketplace. Billy.com.
Uh, can you please link it so I can check the website?
Okay, one second.
So
Mhm.
in general, there are like maybe 10 companies who like insert their payment widget to B2B companies, and they provide like B2B installment payment, whatever, and they doing pretty much like more or less same things. And I mean, there is a business behind it. There are like investment behind it, and we're trying to figure out the pain point.
I'd say the
Uh,
pain point, like that rarely or rare of those solutions are tackling is the overseas payments. That is like that is a big of a sum that is financially like incentivized for you guys. I wouldn't focus at all on the EU trade, like EU offshore trade.
uh, does drop in some extent like uh, solve this problem? I mean, do you trade between EU and non-EU countries? Let's say UK, US, or
Yeah,
Middle Asia?
we do,
And
but now I'm thinking on a more broader scale, because like with Dropa, we checked some of your competitors, but there was, as I mentioned, there was no margin to be shared, and there was no value add. So that's why I'm trying to bring you to the conclusion that there's a problem with the overseas payments, and obviously there are already solutions that people are willing to give you a line of credit to make these purchases for these shipments. But then again, those processes to open up the credit line or whatnot might take some time. But if it was like, okay, these certain factories or certain suppliers would be vetted by you guys, and then like whoever would be ordering from them, like if those companies are in your database, you would have vetted them already, which would make it easy for you to allow that line of credit because you know the quality of the goods. So that would be like a value adding service, because then it would not take time. Like, let's say I have to close a deal today. I need to order the goods from China today because the ship is leaving tomorrow. Obviously, I don't have time to figure out the line of credit if I wouldn't have the bankroll to make the orders. And this was the case for many of the Droplet suppliers. I would say tens, like, and each of those were trading between 5 and 10 million in terms of revenue. But they didn't like, because their stock, like their cash was constantly tied to the stock that they had to prepay offshore. So that's like, if you want to provide these short-term loans, I wouldn't focus on the checkouts because those streets are small. I would focus on these offshore shipments.
I see. So ready to go solution. That's what we have to define. Wow, that's impressive. That's absolutely something different we have to deal with. But
I'm just giving you some
I mean,
context. Like, your space is very competed at, and yes, they are providing value to some segments, but those trades are small. Like, you can make a living out of that. I'm not saying that, but if you want to grow this, that like the big business, then you might as well go to the big trades, because there's like, I think around 20,000 containers every second revolving around the globe. And if you can finance some of those, like that's a grand for you for each. So you might make like, I think 20K a day if you were like not like that you would capture the whole market, but like just putting the perspective that let's say if you're financing like smaller trades, like few thousand AOV orders, it's like you make $30 per order. So it's much harder route for you guys to become profitable.
absolutely. So if we, let's say, switch to this problem space, I mean, we certainly will, dig a bit deeper and define what we can offer here. Uh, what would you say the main challenges are there? Is it like scoring, or like finding the right creditor to provide liquidity, or whatever? Anything else?
Betting the like, I think the problem in offshore purchases is that you have not met the person you are buying from. You can't feasibly fly out in China and just meet this factory. You necessarily don't even speak the same language, so it's very hard to build that trust. So hence, it's like you have to take the credit on your own name, which is completely fine as well. But those institutions that currently do that, they don't like they move slow. So the speed of getting these shipments like credited is, I'd say, the main value prop.
I see. I see.
But we can like, we don't have to go to this problem space. We can stay in yours. I'm more than happy to help you guys in that one as well. I'm just putting this out there. That's a bigger problem.
Well, you mentioned that there might be some potential contacts you can, propose to talk to in problem space we're targeting. So, well, I told that I'm gonna like give a bit more details on who we are and what we are doing. So briefly, we are like early stage startup, which is we are to offer like checkout experience, like customer like checkout experience for B2B. That's actually is, I mean, Billy is right now like quite close thing, which is doing this in Europe. We are targeting US market. So we're targeting one specific market right now. And that's it. I mean, if you, would you say you have anybody who is working on this market and deals with the industrial marketplaces, manufacturing or whatever?
Maybe I don't know of your product and your competitive edge yet. So why are you better than them?
Yeah, I mean, we're not selling right now. We're just trying to, making some discovery interviews. And in this sense, right now we did like 20, 30 interviews, and there are like two things we see. First of all, in US market, there is like term problem, which is quite long. In some cases, there is like default problem. Uh, that's why Dmitry asked. There is a um, speed and cost of transaction problem. There might be some problem spaces, and we think that we have something to offer here, but it's not confirmed yet, 100% confirmed yet. I mean, we don't have enough confirmations to, build up the product and put it on the table. That's why it's just a matter of, additional interviews. That's why, yeah, we proceed with this. For the thing you mentioned, I mean, for the flow you mentioned, offshore transaction, that's absolutely what we started to deal with at the very, very starting point, but we limited, I mean, it's too much. We already do payments and buy now, pay later, and we put aside offshore stuff, offshore payment part, since it's much more complicated. But maybe that's the problem to solve. Well, Dmitry, maybe anything to add at this point?
No, it's completely.
Well, Henry, like your time really, I really appreciate that you spent your time for us. I mean, there's certainly something to think about. We have to investigate this.
My pleasure.
Thank you for your time, Henry.
Yeah, if in any case we can be useful for you, please know that there are two guys that who are ready to share their thoughts on US market, maybe one day.
Once you have something more concrete in terms of plans or product or something, I'd be more than happy to look. Obviously, it's very hard to give you any more context at this stage as you're still in discovery.
Sure. So, yeah, briefly, just to let you know, in maybe 1.5 months, we gotta find this problem space and build up something to show.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, at this point, we'll get back to you with something to share. All right.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
thank you again. Yeah. Have a nice day. Bye. Че, он немного нецелевой или как тебе показалось?
Ну, он в Финляндии сидит. Как и испанка. Он совсем, максимально целевой, если мы все еще про Штаты говорим только. С другой стороны, он, типа, шарит вроде как. По крайней мере, думает, что шарит. Или там себя позиционирует как человек, который шарит. Ну и в целом интересные вещи обозначил, как бы конкретные, да. Мне кажется, что стоит переслушать и подумать, что он говорит.
Окей. Окей.
Ты что подумал? Что вынес?
Мужик, да я походу хреново соображаю, мне показалось, что он типа говорит, никаких проблем нету с задолженностями, хотя та девочка основной сказала, что там есть проблем issue, там есть проблемы. И мне показалось, что они типа разные говорят из одной и той же компании и разный фидбэк. То есть одна говорит четко есть, другой говорит нет, нету. Но кажется, что это как бы типа адвайзера, он не особо внутри в процессах, и он не особо шарит по верхам. А девочка именно суперцелевая, она изнутри все знает. Вот что я как бы понял, но я вообще типа совсем поверхностно. Сейчас я как обычно потом сижу, дрочусь, пересматриваю вот это вот все, и тогда только начинаю понимать, о чем суть была.
У нас тогда надо, мне кажется, вот эту сессию обсуждения как-то вынести после того, как ты пересмотрел. Я тоже, как бы не все улавливаю в процессе, в потоке.
Да.
И что-то надо переслушивать. Вот это бы я и девочку переслушал, сравнил. Я вот что, если коротко. Первое тоже отметил, что девочка финансист в Испании, а мальчик продажник в
Финляндия.
Финляндии.
Угу.
Да, у них много бабок на счету, они за счет своих бабок, чтобы случилась транзакция, оплачивают этот весь банкет. Ну, типа, сокращают термы, да, грубо говоря, финансируя. Этот чувак говорит, что это окей, типа, нам пофиг. Берем, платим, бабок много, нормально. Та финансист говорит, это не окей. Ну, типа, не знаю, деньги, видимо, все равно там не резиновые.
Ну, смотри, сейлс, он продажник, он как бы типа заточен на все, говорит, что окей, порешаем, как бы он продает, а девочка, она работает с проблемами, она работает с решениями, поэтому я бы верил больше ей. То есть он такой более верхний уровень, он больше как бы сейлс.
Да, тем не менее, вот несколько мыслей, да, которые я взял на проверку. Надо то, что он сказал, что типа внутри там Евросоюза большие поставщики какие-то, большие покупатели, термы какие-то стандартные, к которым они привыкли, если какой-то переговорный процесс в тупик заходит, они докидывают за счет своих бабок, чтобы случилась сделка. И типа это как-то нормально там у них работает. Ну и да, наверное, для кэшфлоу какие-то проблемы есть, надо у девочки понять, какой объем этих проблем, к чему приведет и так далее. Но это проблема, опять же, маркетплейса, а не покупателя или продавца, что тоже специфичное. Он указал на какие-то заграничные штуки, заграничные транзакции. Это немножко...
Не уловил это я.
Ну, типа он сказал, что внутри Европы пофиг, работает, проблемы нету. Типа внутри, если за пределами, за границей покупаешь, начинаются проблемы. Огромные суммы, миллионы бабок, там какие-то десятки контейнеров, и вот это уже проблема. Там проблема в том, что долго согласовывать вот этот займ, чтобы купить у китайцев там типа контейнеры какие-то. То есть там что-то связанное с тем, что оно и так 2 месяца едет. Ты и так как бы бабки берешь в долг и на 2 месяца морозишь. Да еще и ты в долгу берешь, потому что на той стороне хер знает кто, ты не можешь поехать в этот Китай, посмотреть. И типа он сказал, что если бы типа вы смогли как-то решить вот это loans для заграничных покупок с это типа предвыбранными поставщиками, то это какая-то ценность. Типа, грубо говоря, что ты, грубо говоря, как мог, как гарант сделки выступать, что ли. Берем займ на себя, выдаем, они покупают. Ну, это что-то такое.
Мужик, я тебя не прокомментирую, я как бы совсем слабо понял. Смотри, как можем сделать. Я сейчас загружу вот этих 2 видео, ты пересмотришь, я пересмотрю, выпишу по ним заметки, и мы по всем 3, ну, они, получается, все 3 целевые, мы можем обсудить их все 3 для того, чтобы для себя какие-то там инсайты подметить и двигаться дальше.
Это мужик индастриал, да, который тогда был?
А? Head of e-commerce.
Третий, да, Head of Commerce, да, тоже индастриал, кстати. Они
Что-
очень похожи.
Что значит индастриал?
Ну, типа, не готовые продукты, а какие-то промышленные, я так понял. Ну, тот вообще химические какие-то реагенты продает. А эти, что-то он говорил, индастриал, ну, когда крупные конторы у крупных контор покупают. Это такое промышленное. То есть это не типа не стульчики перепродать, чтобы там выгрузиться.
Дроп? За дроп?
Не, я говорю, что... Я говорю... Слышно меня, да?
Да.
Я говорю, что они похожи, потому что тот продает химические какие-то реагенты, да, а эти тоже с производственными компаниями работают.
Ну, фиг его знает, там, ну, короче, я все равно не нечего комментировать, надо слушать. Я боюсь сейчас что-то сказать, и как бы вообще не туда.
Ладно.
Я посмотрел их сайт, покликал, там они всякие перчатки продают, ну, такую, типа, товары для дома, ну, типа такого. То есть я что-то там какой-то индастриал не видел, но я только понял, что они там по 400 штук минимум продают, что-то такое.
Да, ну вот я тоже мог сюда что-то приплести, свое первое впечатление, потому что он говорил несколько раз индастриал, я тоже переслушаю, может быть, мне как-то показалось.
Ну,
Тоже
я
всё понял.
что-то не понял там индастриал. Там именно товары, там знаешь как, типа мелкий опт.
Окей.
Заходишь, 400 пар перчаток можешь заказать на 10 тысяч долларов. Ну, типа так.
Может, я нагнал. Давай так, вот это давай вытащим из
Слушаем, да.
моих
Давай
комментариев.
3, я вот эти вот сейчас 2 добью, комментарий добью, все тебе скину, ну, ссылки заранее скину. И мы вот их 3 обсудим, в принципе, там, ну, много инсайтов. Блин, девочку надо по-любому вытаскивать, можно ей даже деньги предложить, потому что там очень, ну, интересные штуки, как они управляют дебиторкой, откуда она знает Билли, пробовали они ее, ну, короче, там есть что поспрашивать.
Она конкретно еще отвечает, это хорошо. Давай так, может быть, мы прослушаем какие-то моменты, прям в момент прослушивания за себя, ну, там, заметки напишем, потом их обсудим и это. Девочки, ты уже отправил, да, вопросы?
Не, я запрос на встречу отправил, ну и написал, что еще хотим пару вопросов об этом-то спросить. Ну,
Супер,
debt
ага.
management.
Давай тогда, может быть, я все равно буду как бы прослушивать, писать себе заметки, потом, ну, если у тебя тоже там будет заметки, предлагаю там все как-то обсудить коротенечко и составить, может быть, какие-то гипотезы и по этому поводу вопросы,
Угу.
и девочке их направить. Знаешь, мне что